My family and I just got back from our 4-day cruise on Navigator of the Seas. It's cruise review time. Hi everyone, Rob from Cruise Seekers, and my family and I just got back from Navigator of the Seas. And now it's time to give a little bit of an idea of exactly what we thought about our trip. But before we do that, I would love to invite every one of you to please subscribe to this channel. It will really help me and it will help you get information as I create it, and you can get that information as soon as it's out there. So remember, please hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, and give me a like, and that would be really, really helpful. Thanks in advance. So when trying to figure out exactly what to do for spring break this week with our twins, my wife and I decided to say, hey, let's do a cruise, a short cruise, a 4-day cruise, because we just got off Allure of the Seas, and the boys, of course, love to go cruising, and they were kind of miffed a little bit that, hey, mom and dad got to go on a cruise and we didn't get to go on one. So we said, hey, we're going to book one for spring break. And lo and behold, we decided to go out of California once again. And normally we would go with Carnival because that's usually the only option at this time. But now with Royal Caribbean, after 20 years, finally came back to California. They put a great new ship there in Navigator of the Seas. We were really excited to give it a whirl. It was our first time on a Voyager class ship. It was a nice sized ship, 4,000 people normally. But with us, we only had about 2,100 people, even though it was a spring break week. So it was a pretty darn quiet cruise. It was a great cruise. We will talk a little bit about all the little pieces of it. There was some stuff that was there was a little hiccups here and there is the best way to put it, but overall it was a great cruise, and we're going to go through it one by one, and we're going to start off with embarkation day. So normally we go one day before to the cruise port when we cruise and we have to fly. But because Salt Lake City, where we live, is not far from California, it's only about an hour and 20-minute flight, we decided, you know what, we can definitely go flying into the cruise during the same day that we leave on the cruise. It's normally a situation that I try to avoid, but there's some rules that I usually follow that will allow me to do something like that. A, it has to be a short flight. B, it has to be a direct flight. C, there needs to be many different options in case there is a cancellation that I can get on another flight. So that usually means that I will have to be leaving very early to give me those, that flexibility that you need if you're going to fly on embarkation day. So we did fly on embarkation day. It worked out just fine. There was no problems with the airport whatsoever. Everything was great. But I will tell you, it was a little bit sticky when we decided to fly into LAX. Really, when you're flying into California to go on a cruise, you probably want to stay away from LAX. LAX is really just a nightmare. So I would highly recommend flying into Long Beach. It's just something that you just want to try to stay away from LAX. Getting an Uber is tough. The cost of Uber going to the cruise port is very expensive. So do yourself a favor, stay away from LAX. The other thing that was a major hiccup with flying into LAX was the transfer. We decided to use Royal Caribbean's transfer service to get from the airport to the port. So it was normally something that's very simple to do, right? You get collected at the baggage area, they put you on a bus, off to the port you go. It wasn't the case with Royal Caribbean at LAX, and that's kind of sad because that kind of really put a little bit of a damper on that first day, right? We got off the plane, we were on time, we actually were early. We got down to the area where you would go to meet the person for the transfer, and then we had a long walk to a different terminal. We also had an elderly aunt with us too, so that was not great. For that long walk, nobody let us know that this was a decent walk here, and they didn't even offer help for our aunt to get from Terminal A to Terminal B. Well, it was actually Terminal 7 to Terminal 6, but so that was a little bit of a damper there. And then when we got there, we were not informed of how long of a wait we were going to have to wait for that bus to get to the port. It was over an hour wait, and there was no seats. And our aunt, she's elderly, having to stand for an hour, again, not that great. So that was a huge, huge disappointment to begin with, to start with the cruise. We're spending a good amount of money to move 5 people from the airport to the cruise port, and to kind of have that type of service and not really being comfortable and just doing a lot of walking and a lot of standing, just not a great thing, Royal. You got to do better there. Now, as I said, it was a nightmare getting on that bus and getting to the port, but actually when we got to that port, everything was smooth sailing. the folks at St. Pedro terminal where the Royal Caribbean cruises leave from, it was just extremely smooth. We went from the area where they would check your vaccination and your test to your security to the actual check-in at the desk inside the terminal to on the ship, all within 15 minutes. It was extremely fast. It was extremely efficient. Great job, Royal. So once we got on board Navigator to the Seas, Royal Caribbean did something really, really amazing. Right when you walk onto the ship, there was a podium there so that you can set up your reservations for your dinners, which was perfect because we had the unlimited dining package. I didn't have to get on my app. I got all of our lunches and our dinners all taken care of. It was a great way just to kind of get that out of the way right off the bat when you got on the ship. It's one of those things I love to do right when you get on ship, and Royal made that extremely, extremely easy. Kudos to you, Royal. Great location for that. For this cruise, we decided to book 2 rooms for my wife and myself and our boys and our aunt. So it worked out really, really well for us. We originally had 2 balconies nearby each other. We got a price reduction, so we were able to kind of change from our balcony to a suite, which was great. And we decided then to try to royal up our other room for our aunt and our boys. We got lucky. We won a royal up, which we got even luckier. The junior suite that we got royaled up to was placed right next to our junior suite. So it was just perfect. We were able to open up the divider. We had this huge balcony. It was a great situation. Now, we'll do another review about the junior suite on the Navigator of the Sea in a future video. So remember, please subscribe and hit that notification button, and you'll get that review as well. But, just to kind of say in short, we loved our room. Our room was perfect. Great size, huge walk-in closet, decent sized balcony, double loyalty points, reasonable price. I think this is going to be one of my favorite cabins and one of the cabins that I will probably try to reserve from this point forward on Royal Caribbean. So now let's talk a little bit one of my favorite things to do on a cruise, and that is dining, specialty dining in particular. We were able to do the unlimited dining package on this cruise. We got a really good deal on it. We will have another video again about that, on the value that we got of the UDP on our little 4-day cruise. So look for that in the future. But we tried all the different restaurants on Navigator of the Seas. There is Jamie's Italian, there is Chops, there is the new seafood one called Hooked, and then there's Azumi's. There's also the ability to do some a la carte at the Playmakers sports bar and pub, which was perfect because we really used that one a lot too. Now, overall, all the restaurants were good to very good. That's the best way to put it. Good to very good. None of them were like standout, great, phenomenal, but they were all very good to, very good to very good, I would say. The one that we had, me personally had the most issue with was Jamie's Italian. Now, I'm a little bit of an Italian snob. I'm 100% Italian. My mom's food that we grew up with was delicious. My grandmother's food was delicious. So I'm very particular with my Italian food, and I would say this one was good, mainly because Jamie kind of did some twists on Italian, and I'm just some flavors that I'm just not very familiar with in the Italian genre. So that's what kind of threw me off a little bit with his take on Italian. The tiramisu wasn't like exactly what I was expecting. There were some other little things here and there that was kind of a little bit odd for me, as being used to the Italian that my family and I grew up with. So that's just me, though. I know a lot of people that really, really loved Jamie's Italian. Me personally, if you like traditional Italian food, you would enjoy Jamie's, but I wouldn't necessarily say you would be raving about it because you just wouldn't be very familiar with the taste and the different types of things he's trying to do there. That's just me, and that's what I will, and that's what I would like just to let people know about, just what I thought about the food in general. Now, Chops, I would say, was very good. When we went to Chops, we had a great, great time. The steaks were cooked absolutely to perfection. Right on the money temperature wise. The sides were delicious. Except for one side, we weren't very happy with the Gruyere tater tots. One of my boys made a really funny comment about how it tasted like, and I'm not going to repeat it here, but needless to say, it kind of basically was based upon what cheese kind of might taste like if it's kind of pungent, right? And Gruyere is kind of pungent. So it was an interesting flavor on that for sure. But everything else was great. The appetizers were great. I love the crab cake that's over there. I love the bacon. I love the wedge salad. The mushroom soup was delicious. Everything was really, really good. The desserts, again, very, very good. Chops is great. One thing I would always say about I would like to say about chops is that I really wish Royal Caribbean will give more of an aged meat choice. It's something that they could really do on ship if they have the ability to. There's a lot of different technology out now to help you age your beef in a relatively small space. So I think they should really start thinking about doing some more aged beef or sourcing it, because it's something that when you go to a steakhouse, you really want that aged steak. The other thing that really kind of I would love to see chops do more often is kind of have a thicker cut on their ribeye. The ribeyes are taste delicious. They were cooked perfectly, but I like my ribeyes a little bit thicker. That's just me. But that's one of the things that I would say about chops. Now, let's talk a little bit about Izumi. Izumi, beautiful, beautiful location where they put this specialty restaurant on the ship. We got really lucky where we were in Izumi during a sunset. It was absolutely stunning, and it was amazing because just a stunning location, and you had stunning presentation. Sushi's beautiful. We were in a beautiful location during a beautiful time at night. It was just a wonderful experience to be at Izumi during that time. The sushi was very good. Everything tasted delicious. My wife is not a big sushi eater, and the waiters were bending over backwards just to make sure that she was happy, because knowing that she's not a sushi eater, they really tried to accommodate her and her desires for a good meal, and they really accomplished that well. So kudos to the folks over at Izumi. Izumi, I would say, is one of those very, very good locations. Definitely go see it when you're on Navigator of the Seas, just mainly for the location, and again, wonderful sushi. Finally, there's Hooked. Hooked was something I was really, really interested in trying, because being from Long Island, which is like the New England area of New York, I love my seafood, especially shellfish. We just constantly used to go to seafood restaurants. We lived right off the Long Island Sound, so I was really looking forward to this. And Hooked, didn't disappoint if you really, really like, fried seafood. The soft shell crabs, the fried soft shell crabs were delicious. The messy fish sandwich, absolutely delicious. Now, where they kind of fell down a little bit was when they went away from the fried. The fried the lobster that they had was kind of interesting, right? I like a boiled lobster, just a regular boiled lobster with butter, and I can just dip the lobster in the butter and put it in my mouth and enjoy it. That's how I always grew up with eating lobster. Putting some crab meat and then some cheese on top and then baking it. I was like, okay, it's a little different, not really very New England-y like. So I was just kind of surprised about that. The other thing is that they kind of advertised that lobster as a 2-pound lobster. It wasn't a 2-pound lobster, folks. They did also inform me that the lobster was not 2 pounds after I inquired. And, they were just saying, yeah, they're having a hard time sourcing 2-pound lobsters. And I could understand that. We also did have some oysters on our lunch. The interesting thing was the oysters were out by the time we went to dinner on the third night. So a lot of people who might have reserved Hooked would not have had oysters if they reserved it either on nights 3 or 4. Again, sourcing problems. I understand that during COVID, but again, people are reserving Hooked mainly because they want to try some raw oysters, or something that they were really desiring, because they like raw oysters. And I was lucky enough to have them on my lunch, but dinner time we weren't able to have them again. Now, the baked oysters were also very good too. The raw oysters were good as well, but they were a little bit on the small side, just so you know. Overall, I would say Hooked was good. But again, coming from New England, I'm used to some really, really, really fine seafood restaurants. And so I would say, hey, if you like seafood, go to Hooked. If you are a seafood aficionado and you really want boiled fish, seafood, you might get a little bit disappointed over at Hooked in general. But if you want to just have a real good time with some fried fish, which is, again, I love fried fish too, again, you would enjoy Hooked immensely for that purpose. Now, outside of the specialty dining, we also went to Playmakers 3 times. We loved Playmakers. It was a great place to go. They had great appetizers, great desserts, great burgers. The wings were good. We just had a lovely time going to Playmakers for our lunches whenever we wanted to. The interesting thing is because of Playmakers, we never really went to Johnny Rockets. It was an interesting situation that they have such an overlap, right? Johnny Rockets is really just for burgers. Maybe if you want a shake, you can go to Johnny Rockets that you can't get at Playmakers. But other than that, there was really no reason for us to even go near Johnny Rockets when they have Playmakers on board. So that was an interesting overlap that, that's on this ship, but I'm sure other people see it that way too. But hey, it is what it is. If you're on the pool deck and you want a burger, Johnny Rockets is a great option. But if you want appetizers and other things to go with your burger, go to Playmakers. Finally, we did go to the main dining room one time during our trip. We decided to do the main dining room one night because we had a late lunch. And you know what? We just said, we just didn't want to have a big, heavy specialty dining meal. We just kind of wanted something light and small. We decided to give the main dining room a try. And the main dining room on Royal Caribbean on Navigator of the Seas, they were absolutely perfect. They had great food. The food was very tasty. The service was phenomenal. This was the first time we were in a main dining room on Royal Caribbean in over 20 years. And the guys and the gals over at Navigator of Seas did a great, great job. Food was great. Service was great. Good job, Royal Caribbean, in your main dining room on Navigator of the Seas. The other thing that's really important to me and my family when we cruise is entertainment. And Navigator of the Seas, for this little 4-day cruise, hit it out of the park. It was a phenomenal entertainment staff that was on this ship. We really enjoyed everything that we went to see. They did a great job. The folks in the ice skating, the Ice Skate 2.0, it was a great, great show. I mean, they even had drones and other things too. And it was so much fun to be on. And the skaters were phenomenal. It was even better of a skate show than we had on Allure of the Seas. Good job, Navigator of the Seas. You had a great, great ice show. It was extremely entertaining. We got to see it on our first night, and it was a great way to just kind of start off our cruise. The other thing that they had an awesome thing was the headliner. Our headliner, she sang Whitney Houston to perfection. Her name is Stephanie Parker. You can find her on YouTube, I believe, under Las Vegas Diva of the Seas. So take a look at her music. And her singing of Whitney was extremely powerful. And the amazing thing is they did this without any canned music whatsoever. It was the Navigator of the Seas Orchestra backed her up, and it was all spot on. They sounded phenomenal. And Stephanie uses no background vocals whatsoever. It's just her singing Whitney, and she did a great job. It was a lot of fun, and it was another great night on Navigator of the Seas. The other night that we went to see a show was for Showgirls. Showgirls had phenomenal dancing. Absolutely phenomenal dancing. And I can't say any more about these people. It was very, very entertaining. The singers were good. I wouldn't consider, them phenomenal or great or anything like that, but they were very good. They were very passable. The music selection that they did was great. All the sounds, all the music there was, very much, something that I enjoy listening to. It wasn't kind of overdated. They did it past, present, and future, so it kind of brought you through a whole spectrum of music, which was great because it had a little bit of something for everybody. I thought it was a great, great show. The one thing that I thought was interesting that was not on the ship and was always on a cruise ship that we've ever been on was there was no comedians on our ship. None. Or a variety show that was kind of comedy centric, like maybe a juggler or a ventriloquist or something along those lines. Now, I don't know if it's just something fell through and we just didn't get one on our ship because something fell through, but it was interesting that it was not there. And we did notice that, hey, where's the comedian or where's that, that variety show type of thing? There wasn't one. but that's okay. We had good time anyway without it. And the night that we didn't really go see a show, we had a great time over in the Sooner Bar listening to the Piano Man. And we actually went to listen to him 3 times during the cruise. He was just spot on. He had such a great personality. His singing was spot on. His piano playing was perfect. We just had a great time with all the entertainment that we had on Navigator of the Seas. On the whole, Navigator of Seas is a great ship. I'm still amazed that it's a 20-year-old ship. And just the flow of the ship, it's just spot on. That Royal Promenade, the Voyager class, really kind of did a phenomenal thing with cruise in general. You don't have to go through the casino anymore. That was a great thing. I was like, oh, wow, look, this is just like an Oasis class ship. I don't have to go through the casino if I don't want to. The flow of the ship was just great. There were so many venues where you had views of the ocean, and you felt connected to the ocean, that you felt that you were on a cruise ship, which was great. That's one of the things I look for when I'm on a ship, that I feel like I'm on a cruise ship, not inside a mall or anything along those lines, not very inward facing. The Navigator of the Seas makes you feel outward facing, and it lets you feel the ocean, and it lets you feel that you are on a cruise ship, which was great. Now, because Navigator of the Seas is 20 years old, there was one thing that was kind of a snafu with the ship itself. The heaters on the pool were not working. Now, they're going to be working, they say, by the end of May. They're getting them fixed. So if you're planning on being on Navigator of the Seas soon, hopefully it's in late May or after May's passed, and then you'll have your heated pools. But it was kind of cold when we were there. The other interesting thing that was happening was a lot of the cabanas were roped off. There was some issues with kids climbing on the cabanas and hurting themselves, so they were kind of retrofitting them, is the best way to put it, so that they're more safe for kids, and so that to prevent them from climbing. But that caused a lot of those cabanas where people love to sit to kind of be roped off, and they were actually working on them when we were on the ship. So hopefully there'll be more available in the very near future for other future cruises. So that was the other thing that was kind of different. Another interesting thing is that they decided to shock the water coaster, during the sea day, during a big period of time where a lot of people want to get on it. I was like, why are they shocking this thing right now? Couldn't they do this in a less busy time? My guess is something probably happened where they needed to do it, but it was just interesting that they were, going through that chlorination process during a very busy time. It is what it is, but overall, the staff of Navigator of the Seas, phenomenal. They were one of the best staffs that I've seen on any cruise ship. Great job. Royal Caribbean Navigator of the Seas is a beautiful ship, and thank you so much for putting her on the West Coast. It gives a lot of people out here another option to choose Royal Caribbean, to try it out and to kind of see what Royal Caribbean's all about, to go on the itinerary that we're very familiar with, the Mexican Riviera cruises and the short 3-day, 4-day cruises to Ensenada. I really enjoyed Navigator of the Seas. So if I was to give a scorecard on Navigator of the Seas, I would definitely give the ship a 4-star for our cruise, but it's probably going to become a 5-star ship once that heater and those cabanas are fixed. So it is a great ship. Definitely as a whole, the ship is a lot of fun. You're going to enjoy Navigator of the Seas as a ship. The staff, definitely 5 stars. Everybody was bending over backwards to make sure you had the best cruise vacation you can possibly have. Great staff on Navigator of the Seas. Food-wise, it's probably a 4-star. There's definitely other places that I've had better food. But again, it was good to very good. So I'm not going to say that it was, fair or anything like that. It was good to very good. So 4 stars on the food. Entertainment-wise, I'm going to give that a 4-star as well, because there's so many other ships that have just a lot more different types of entertainment choices that you have out there, between Broadway shows and aqua theaters and all the other bells and whistles that you can get on a ship. Navigator of the Seas is 20 years old, and it just doesn't have as many options. And for some strange reason, we didn't get a comedian or a variety show, so I'm not sure if that was a scheduling conflict or just someone that fell through because of COVID or who knows what. But yeah, 4 stars on the entertainment, because the entertainment that we did have was very good. So anyway, that's my overall view of Navigator of the Seas. I hope you enjoyed this review, and remember to always seek the seas. Bye now.